Right, just a quick update on day one of the new kit. First and most importantly, I emptied the water container yesterday evening, and it went all night through till this morning without being full. It was about 3/4 full, so it means it can run all night without any attention and without shutting itself down because the water tank's full. So that's that. It works fine. It's doing its job, and I've got a two-stage thing now because later in the afternoon, as the light starts to fade, it's turned off at the moment. I will turn it back on. Now the reason I've turned it off during the day is I want the humidity back to front. I want the humidity higher in the day when the temperature goes up a bit, yeah, rather than at night when the temperature goes down. So that will keep my humidity low overnight when the temperatures are low, and then during the day I'll let the humidity naturally rise. And the other thing is temperature. The temperature on there is reading a little high. I'm going to adjust that. But what's important is I did what a lot of people suggested and got an old-fashioned thermometer that doesn't need batteries. That is currently reading just under 16 degrees centigrade. That's reading 14. That's reading 14. So they're both wrong and they're both low. And those are the new ones, and I've been relying on those. One of the older ones over there says 15.5. Well, given that this one says just over, well, it's bang on 16, I would suggest that is the most accurate one in the room. Yeah, I mean, these are manufactured central units, and providing they're put in the right place with the scale either side working okay, you know, in the right place, then they're going to be pretty good. So that's the closest I've got to the right temperature. 15.5 to 16. So I will promptly ignore the others, and they're going to go back in the house just to give me a rough idea of what's going on in the house. And then over here, this is the one that controls my heater, currently says 17, and I can't adjust that. But what I can do is adjust the way it works. So what I've got to do is mentally think of, when do I want the heater to kick in? And I actually want the heater to kick in at around 12 degrees to take it up to 13, 14. That's as low as I want to get. So the absolute bottom line is 12. So what I will do is adjust the settings on that so that the heater kicks on when it really is 12 degrees in here, not what it says on there. So I'll play with that and get that right. So this thing gives off heat. If I do turn it on during the day, if this humidity starts getting a bit too high, then I will turn it back on again. And it basically gives off enough heat that I came down here at just after 5 o'clock this morning, and between 5 o'clock and 8:30 when I opened this door round to let some heat from the lounge in and get my daytime temperature to rise, in that time the heater only came on once. That was on and off, doing its job and producing enough heat that it stopped the heater kicking in. Now that's a real bonus because that's quite a major saving in energy cost. Okay, I'm using that instead. And that comes on around the same frequency as the heater did, but it comes on for longer because unfortunately it's got this 6% variable which I can't change. So, you know, from the setting that I give it, 65, it drops down to 62, and at the point it hits 62 it turns on, and then when it hits 68 it turns off. So it's got that sort of 5 or 6% variable when it's running all the time. That's how it is. I can't change that. It's not an adjustable one. So, but as I said, it comes on for longer than the heater did, and probably not as often. and it's using an awful lot less electricity than the heater does. Bearing in mind the heater also comes on with the circulating fan, otherwise I would get a real hot spot blasting out from the heater. So yeah, I'm happy so far, and the water that's come out of it so far is in there. I'm sure everybody's interested. This is not pure water, by the way. There was some residual water in the bottom of here before I started pouring the water in. So it didn't start off clean. It already had some water in there, but be worth having a quick look, I suppose. It says 76 parts per million. But bearing in mind, like I said, there was some feed left in the bottom of that before I started pouring the water in. It's relatively pure water, and I mean, I'll use that up. I'll actually use that water after I've checked the pH. You know, don't forget that. This is brand new water that I don't know. It's come out of a machine, you know, so I need to know what pH is as well. But if it's usable, which I'm sure it is, then I will use it. So it's a bit of a saving on the RO water as well. It's not going to last long. If that's a day's worth, it's not going to keep me going, but it'll keep me going in some shape or form through the winter when I'm not using as much. So another bonus. Anyway, so that's as it's working as I can see so far. Give it 3 or 4 days for me to settle into the best way to use it and everything, and I'll do another update. But so far so good. The bit of heat that it gives off is useful. And as I said, it's doing its job. It's kept that humidity down overnight, which is when the damage would be done because the temperatures are low. That's when any mould spores would be, you know, breeding and doing their thing. And hopefully the combination, because what I'm going to do is, that's going to do its job overnight. In the main, that's when it will be used, and its surplus heat that it gives off saves my energy on the heater and the fan. And during the day, because obviously if that's turned off, there's no airflow at all now, I'm going to use the air cleaner during the day as airflow and to do its job cleaning the spores and everything out of the air. And I think between all that lot, we should be okay. That's my theory anyway. The thing is, once you start delving into new ways of doing things when you've been doing the same thing for years and years, it's a bit stressful because you're not quite sure of the path you're taking. Is this path actually okay? Is it going to work? Are my orchids going to suffer? Well, I think overall they're going to do better. I was listening to Lynn, one of her videos that she'd posted, and in her cold greenhouse where her Mazda Valleys and Draculas are, it was 17-18 degrees, you know. That's my daytime temperature now. Mind you, she was out there in the daytime, I suppose. But yeah, overnight here we were happily down at 12-13 degrees centigrade at 65 average humidity, and I think the plants are going to do a lot better for that. There are some that are going to stop growing, yeah, and they will probably grow not one little bit during the winter. But all I'm interested in is weeding out those that can't survive that. They'll just have to go. They'll be let go, as they say. And what's left that starts growing again next year gets to stay. So there could be a reduction in the collection as a consequence of dropping down a scale as far as temperature is concerned. In my old place, I was centre intermediate up towards warm. Now here, I'm going to be centre intermediate down towards cool. So that's a change in environment, and it will be a change possibly in the number of orchids that do well. But we shall see. Time will tell. I'm sure if you stood there and watched, you'd actually see that spike growing. I mean, it's, what is it today? Wednesday. We looked at that on Sunday and it was like that. You know, it's coming on nicely. Should be a good show. I'm hoping for 5 or 6 blooms on it, but it's always difficult to tell with that one because the buds bunch up and then gradually the spike extends and more and more buds come out. So no guarantee how many there will be. Right, I'm off. I've got other things to do today. I've got the luxury of nothing to water today. Absolutely nothing. Everything's up to speed. So, yeah, good stuff. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.